You might be wondering how I got here, and I don't know myself, but you know, this is going to happen to you, and you should be prepared for it. And there's a few ways to do it and how to avoid it. So, yeah. Hey, today's video is going to give you a bunch of tips on looting, managers and how they work, upgrades, and routing yourself to make sure you save time, effort, and how not to destroy your vehicles. Oh, I should probably hit this one button. Here you go. Let's go here. Boop. Are not working? It's not working. Okay, it doesn't matter. So what's going to happen? We're going to do this really quick. I try not to make these intros very long. If you like what I do here today, all I'm going to do is ask you if I can earn your subscription. I'm not going to beg for it. If you want to hit other buttons at the end of the video and I've created some value to you, that's up to you. We're going to go very quick. We're going to go rapid fire, and everything is a visual learning format. I will do sections, which have chapters underneath each one. It'll be in the YouTube bar. If it's not right away, it's because I can't do it while it's unlisted. I think I might have changed that. I'm going to try to fix it for you. And the old video that's one right before that, or the playlist that's listed for this video, will show you all the videos in the series. There's going to be about 10 videos, okay? With that said, let's get into it today. Okay, this next part is going to be the section on selling loot, storing loot, and how to get the most out of your loot. So, first thing you want to do is, if you want to make sure you make as much money back as possible, try to save your equipment between missions at an outpost. Even if you're not going to come back to that mission for a while, the outpost will be persistent between missions, where your trucks go back to some garage somewhere and get repaired. So, for example, if we go to this truck, it has some items in it in the Ace. So we're going to take those items back out. So now we have items in our own inventory. We back up to that little garage right there. That's the outpost you start off with, the starting mission. And you hit trade, and you can see in the inventory the base module has these items. These items will persist. Now, you've probably read that before, but I want to make sure you know why it's worth doing. There is a manager who has a plus 50% sell value. You won't get perfectly all of your money, but a lot of these items are on the map, especially like the femurs and stuff. Leave them in your base unless you are in desperate need of money. If you are, okay, fine, put them in any truck that you have on the map and exit to the headquarters, and you will get paid for all the items inside as soon as you leave the map. If you're like, I don't want to do that, there's another couple ways to do it. I'm going to give you the next tip after this that'll affect it. I want to keep them separate, all right? Okay, let's move on to the next tip. Okay, this is part of the next tip, the previous tip as well. Like I said, when you exit the game, you get paid for the expedition, and you get items sold. The anchor point is 1,200, which is 600. The dinosaur femur, when it's sold, is $1,000, so you can kind of tell exactly how much you're getting. If you want to increase that, like I said, you can get a manager, hold them back. There's a manager that gives plus 50% sell price, and you can dump them in your warehouse, your field houses, until you're ready, okay? Just make sure you keep that in mind. It does affect a lot of things when it comes to how much cash you'll have. Now, you can just go do a bunch more missions, and it's perfectly fine. If like there's going to be a path back, take a femur, and it's like a whole map that's going to take 35 minutes, it's probably not worth it. If you get a couple airdrops nearby with a bunch of bones, it's going to take you 5 minutes to bring them back to one of your bases. Not so bad to bring them back. You make your determination. It's your game. With that said, let's move on to the next tip. This next tip is how to save a little bit of money, since you're going to be going through and getting femurs and ancient bones and also all these relics to make cash. One of the ways to make your life a little better is to actually save that money by using the free resources on the map that you aren't paying for. And one of them is when you go to your base, and this is going to be on the Colorado map. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's on the Arizona map. This I think it is. You're going to come up here, and this is your base. You're going to come out, this is the field base, right? Field operation base, and there's these 4 modules here. You don't want to build all 4 of these at once. The game doesn't do a very good job of explaining this. These 4 slots are for, there's like 4 different buildings. Build 1, hold off, unless you absolutely are out of fuel and everything's screwed up. And here's why. If we're back in this truck, I built 1 already, all right? And it's in the essential storage, as you can see over there. Oops, sorry, over here. Now, what happens is, I told you about the step truck having, step truck, and in there is 62 gallons of fuel out of 63. There's also 105 of canisters on it. You can go, if you want to, if you're going to be someone who's going to be doing a lot of refueling of your own little fleet of trucks in the field, and the step is going to be your mobile loot base, because you look at the sideboards. We got a 7-unit inventory right here, And then over here, we have the sideboards, which can hold more stuff. So this is a very large one. You get the upgrade for free right off the bat for the step. You don't need to spend any money for the sideboards. So I'm going to put a little bit of fuel in there. Just transfer, not all of it. And if you screw up, you can transfer it back. I'd say 10 gallons is fine. And then let's say I want the spare parts to repair or to build bridges with. So we're going to put the rest of it in there. I think I'll leave it down to like, I'm not going to leave anything in there. I'm just going to take it all. Okay. And because I'm using this as a mobile base, I'm going to take the extra wheels. Okay. That's a little extra cargo. And then now the reason I did that, we're on the first map, Grand Canyon, Arizona. And there's an airdrop right here. You can see it a little better this way. Airdrop right there with the femur inside, the jack screw, and the parts. This one is Conquest the front. Another one is an airdrop. Femur, anchor point, parts. Parts are for making spare parts over time. I would say leave them in the airdrops or bring them back to your base if you have a chance. But I wouldn't waste time on them too much for the while until you have the need. There's actually a truck that can put the workshop on the back and convert them into parts for you. So until then, you don't really need them. The other stuff, though, the equipment to help move your truck around or the femurs are very good to bring back. So what I would do is take your step, take it down this hill, like this. A little bit of a spoiler, but not really, and park it like right around here. And then take from these things, I would take the femurs and dump them to it while you're doing stuff and looking for missions in the area with scouting. This is just how an easy way to do on any map you have option to or any field base you have option to. The two trucks, the scout truck and the heavy truck, work very well together. One operating as a mobile depot, the other one operating for your scouts and all the ways to see stuff and able to get places very easy. Okay? I want to make sure I gave you little ideas on how not to have to play. What most people do is they anchor themselves to the base. They go out, they come back, they go out, they come back. Use the truck as a landline to dump it out there and then do stuff on that truck, and that way you don't have to come back as often, meaning you save time, you get more loot, and you actually go quicker than most people. That way you're doing the missions probably, I'm not going to say perfectly, but like maybe 15, 20%, 25% faster, as opposed to someone who goes, oh, I'm full, I have to go all the way back and drop everything off and then bring the truck out again, bring the other truck, let it sit there. There's no reason to bring it back. At the end of the expedition, when you teleport out, everything inside the other trucks, every inventory item will be sold automatically, whether you want it to be or not. That's why you have to dump them at the field base, like I said, right? You're going to be smart about this. You're going to save time, okay? Let's move on to the next tip. This next section is going to deal with managers and you and how to use them effectively. What's going to happen here? I want to show you how the managers can make you save a bunch of money, make a bunch of money, or save you a bunch of time. All three are very good. However, you do not, I want to make sure you know this, you do not need all the managers you possibly can for every mission if you're trying to be very focused on getting an expedition done, okay? Let's look at them really quickly. Managers are just people, you can have up to 3 per expedition in your base areas that'll affect you. They don't have to be in your truck, they just are on the map as ghosts that you can't see, and they're making you better. Number 1 is the mechanic. This is assuming you did Colorado and got the first. That's like the starting area. Once you get to Arizona, you're kind of you've had all these guys unlocked. You can use them if you've done most of it, and you'll be able to use them effectively. Now, this guy, Mike Nixon, +5 supply limit. The anchor, meaning I believe what happens is the anchor gets better because he's on your team. So the anchor, instead of having 2 charges, I think has 7. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's just 5. It kind of, they don't do it the way they say. Like, I opened my anchor, it said 5 charges. This one says +5 supply limit. So I'm not really sure why. The setup radius means it can go farther from your truck when you set it up. So if you have like your truck and it's like 4 feet away, normally it can be 8 feet away. The truck, minus 30% damage except wheels. If you're going to be scouting around a lot or doing very hard usage on your vehicles for an expedition, like you think you're like going to go a really far distance and slam around on rocks and cliffs and stuff, he's good to have. He only costs $600. And if you're looking to scout a lot, he's very good to have. The next one, I would say that's essential, is this guy, Connor. He gives you outposts, get 26.4 gallons of fuel extra. If you're in non-Imperial units, it's a little different. Plus 200 repair parts are inside that you can use for free when you're going to be using your scout a lot or your other trucks a lot, and you have your step or whatever truck you're using to hold parts. He's good to put on there. It gives you free resources for $500. Buying 50 parts for your sideboards from the inside game before you launch the mission is 200. So he pays for himself very quickly, just alone in that, if you use the parts. If you don't think you're going to slam your vehicles around, you're very good, you're very delicate, you probably might not need him. He's good for the extra fuel, so you make up your own mind, okay? If you've already bought base modules that have a lot of extra fuel and a lot of extra parts, he might not be needed. The binocs get better with him because you can see a little farther out and you have to not take as much time. Marks, binocs or drones, uphills and downhills, only with him enabled. So if you're looking through your binocs or your drone, you'll see these little things called uphills, or I think they're called climbs. You can't mark those unless he's there for some reason. I'm not sure why the game wants you to have him around for that, but it's something to consider. The next one is the operator. She'll be pretty much with you from once Colorado's done. 219-yard range on your drone, 22-yard height on your drone, goes from like 30 to like 50. 55 partial scout, meaning the radius is bigger. I'm saying this because it wasn't clear, and none of it was clear. Like, some of you might go, oh, that's absolutely clear. I've already had people stop in the Twitch channel and say, Ben, what does this mean? What does that mean? And I'm like, all right, I knew this was going to happen. So I don't mind. I love having the questions. I want to answer them because that's what my job is. And the last one is marks, binoculars, or drone, marks airdrops, which makes it a lot easier. When you saw some of the tutorial missions, you were buzzing your drone around and you would see an airdrop and the icon would pop up but nothing would say anything because she's not in your inventory. You don't need to have her, but it's just nicer, because if not, you have to pull out the binocs or go drive up to it, and it's not easy. It's just quicker with her. But again, she has a $600 cost. Finally, he's another guy like her. The drone can trade. I don't know what that does. I've not played with that. I think the drone can fly up to areas like bases and trade items out of your truck to it from range. I'm not sure about that. I'd love to know if anyone's done that before. That's all I got. The other two things are like her. The last one, these are the last two important ones, and most people are going to skip them because they're at the very bottom and they say manager. David Simmons, treasure items plus 50% selling price. Remember, treasure items, not equipment. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean equipment. I'd love for him to use equipment, but if you sell femurs for $1,000, he will sell them for $1,500. If something sells for $2,000, he'll make it sell for $3,000. So that's why I kept telling you in the last tip, save up all your femurs and your field bases and get ready. And then when you have a mission, you're like, you know what, it's time to cash in. You dump him in, you make more money. Now it's going to have to pay his salary. It'll take 2 items at least to sell to just pay his salary and leave a little bit of money left over. I'd recommend, if you're like trying to figure out a hard number of when should I do it, between 2 field bases, and making sure you have trucks deployed at them to get the femurs out, I'd say like anywhere from 6+ for one expedition. And make sure the expedition is like easy-ish. Like if it says, hey, go to another map and do all these other things, it's not going to be easy. If it's like go in the map that you're on currently, go open up some weather stations, move some cameras, take some photos, fine, do that. But just read the missions carefully, it'll help out. And hopefully, because I told you all this stuff about the managers, you will make more money, save more time, and be able to go into the game deeper and deeper and quicker, compared to saying, hey, a lot of you have work, you only get to play 1 or 2 days a week. Next thing you know, it's been 4 months and you're barely partially in Arizona. People who take some of these tips will probably be done with the entire area and into the Carpathian Mountains. But remember, you can switch back and forth in the maps. There's no reason to do one all the way and the other one all by itself. Do them back and forth as they're easy to earn extra upgrades and money to save some time. Let's move on to the next section, or tip. This next section has to do with upgrades and other ways to grab them, because a lot of them will help you really push your game forward if you're willing to spend the time to get them. If you see an upgrade, you don't have to go crazy diving for it, but at the same time, it might be worth it if you're about to be done an expedition and you have another truck available, or the truck you're using is right next to one, and go, I'm not sure I'm going to get back. Let me show you a quick upgrade that you can get. This is kind of a spoiler for Arizona. It's not that bad if you look around anyway. Most of you should be doing this. Let's say we're in our truck here. I'm going to change the time so you can see it better during the day. We're going to go like this. Remember, the truck is always off to save fuel. We're going to turn the drone around and go out the back, and you're going to look for stuff. Always be looking for stuff, because devs like to hide stuff. And you're going to hear it beeping in a second because it's the range, but there's an upgrade right there. Now look where this is. To get around here, you have to go all the way around the back, and to get there, it's really easy to get in. To get out is almost impossible. If you know you're about to be done the mission, and you have a truck nearby that you're going to have to teleport out anyway, you might as well drive to some of these upgrades, which almost are impossible to get out with, get the upgrade, and then leave the map. Okay, I want to make sure that's very clear, because I've seen people, they're like, hey, this is so great, I'm having fun, I'm going to run over and get the upgrade and drive all the way back. Oh, I smashed my truck off, I fell down the thing, I have to recover it. Next thing you know, an hour and a half has gone by to get one upgrade, which is what the game wants. It wants you to slow down. These tips are meant to just avoid the double work. That's all. Okay, let's see here. Yes, let's move on to the next tip. The other part, the next tip, is basically when you're about at the end of the mission, like I said in the tip before this, and you are getting ready to leave. You're basically like, you're done, the expedition is over, it's got nothing left to go, and you're nearby an upgrade. You've maybe scouted it, maybe you've seen it on your binocs, but you haven't been close. There's a reason to always go towards them. And one of the reasons is, especially if there's black area around them, you might find behind them, as you drive out to it, let's say it's here, and I drive out this way, and then I scout when I'm done getting the upgrade, you might say, oh, look, there's a couple quests out here, which give me more options down here in contracts or in tasks. And the more stuff you know, the better you can plan. The more you plan, the more you route yourself and save time. There are some times I've already seen 2 or 3 missions get done at once just because I knew they were there. If I hadn't gotten an upgrade, or I hadn't went down to a dark corridor, or a few extra feet past. The devs love to hide stuff just behind a hill, maybe just behind a wall, on the other side of a little tiny pool of water. So you have you see like the rise ahead of it, and you have to go down. It's right there. I hate that, but that's what the game is about. You're supposed to explore a little bit. That wanderlust gets fueled. So now you know about it. It might save you some time. The reason I'm doing this is because I don't have a good example right now without going back here, and there's no missions back here. And the other save isn't letting me get back to where there is one. There's one more upgrade like down here somewhere. To get there would take me 15 minutes just to get there, just to show you an upgrade package, which I think a lot of you can understand. Let's move on to the next section. This next section is about paths, drops, and shortcuts, and never taking the most direct path to save yourself a bunch of time, which doesn't make sense until I explain it. All right, so the first one is, don't think about roads or obvious paths that point you towards the best or even useful. Do what you can to stay away from sharp drops. In other words, we're on Arizona right now, and I want to make sure you see exactly what I mean. This next part saved me a bunch. When you go around, we're outside the main base, right? Here's the main field base. You come down this road. It's a road in the most loosest sense. Look where the waypoints are, right? A lot of you are going to know this area very quickly. You go down. Look how your truck is facing over there. It's already at a 35-degree angle, right? Some of you are like, well, I'm going to fall down that. You're right. I did too the first time. So let's go look for another way. Oh wait, what's this right next to us? And I'm doing this because a lot of you are going to see it when you play the game your first time to get to Arizona. The base is up there, the road ends right there. Instead of going down there on the most obvious road, go right here. There are 2 trees, drive between them. Now this isn't meant to be for I'm not going to do this for every single area. I'm just giving you an example of ways to save yourself time and aggravation. Now you come this way, and you start going towards this, and you're already at the path downwards. You now have not gone sideways. Look how we've already bypassed it. Is it the most amazing thing in the world? No. But the game does this to you a lot. If you come to an area and you have to go up a little hill and there's a bunch of rocks and you can't get up them easily, instead of smashing your head into the wall and hoping the wall gives, or putting down anchor points and trying to pull yourself up, it might be worth it, especially if you have extra fuel, or you're not bingo fuel. You look left to right and go, hey, is there any other way around? Or maybe open the map and go, hey, maybe if I go, over here, or over here, or over here, or if I go down here, anything else, before you give up and say, you know what, it's time to use an anchor. Because an anchor, what if you really do need it? I've done it myself, where I've gone, hey, I have to use an anchor to get up here. I use it, I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of myself. Not even 20 yards down the road, there was a simple little two degree path right up, and I'm like, really? Because I was in such a rush to get there as direct path as I could. That's what birthed this entire little tip here, because it's going to aggravate you when you're like, oh crap. And the game's designed that way. It's meant to make you waste time and effort, and then when you absolutely need the stuff later on down the mission, and you're like screens and screens away from anything to kind of resupply, then you're going to go, oh, I wish I had that jack again, or I wish I had that anchor point, or I wish I hadn't damaged my tire, and now I'm crippled here. All right, let's move on to the next tip. This next tip comes down to, sometimes it's better to take a longer path than it is to rush forward and say, oh, I saved all this time, because you're going to flip. And if you don't have the right way to recover yourself, whether an anchor, a jack screw, or maybe even a recovery, well, even a recovery can send you back across the map. So you move forward, you're like, hey, you're just 1 second. Someone goes, hey, man, what's up? You go, what? And next thing you know, you're like, wait, what? No, 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 no. And then you go like this, you slam down, you make issues, and sometimes you'll land right. You'll land perfectly fine. Or you'll get a little bit screwed. You can't move perfectly. So you just got to turn all-wheel drive and go down. But what if you couldn't? What if you were on your side? What if you had to go recover or bring another truck down here? You've wasted valuable time. And when I fell off that cliff, obviously I was trying to make a point. But what if you're going down a road, very, very, very tilted, and you're just about to fall, and someone goes, hey man, dinner's ready. What? Oh, shoot. And next thing you know, you're on your side. That's why sometimes it might be worth to look and see, is there an easier path? And I know I said that a little bit in the last one, but I want to reiterate it because it does save you a bunch of time if you're willing to look. Up here, part of it is to have recovery vehicles. I mean, it does take a while to bring other vehicles around. You don't have to babysit every one of your trucks, but it is kind of nice to be able to have like a guardian angel, kind of like you're your own guardian angel. The other thing that might be worth it is before you go down areas that you can't get back up, like for instance out here outside your base, there are 2 cliffs down here. It's almost impossible to get back up there without a lot of work. Before you go down there, is there anything else you can do up here? Just try to look around for your surroundings, have situational awareness. I know it's a lot of these tips are long and they take a lot of information, but if you actually think about them, they all make common sense, which is not common. And then you rush to go, oh, I'm playing a new game, I'm having some fun. You might go, I'm going to just go dive off there and get it done ASAP. And you've wasted time because you're like, oh, I need to do something like, let's say I go down here, right? I go down this hill, I go, oh crap, and I scout backwards, because sometimes I do. I look with the binocs, I go, oh look, there was something right here. I wish I could get there. Now I can't. Sometimes it's worth going. That's what the drone is for. That's what the binocs are for. That's why having a mission on an expedition to have the one scout girl with you, for the drone to have like 200 extra yards, to look around a lot, can save you a bunch of time. Doing the first expedition, taking a long time, quote unquote wasting time, just to prep yourself. Okay? Let's move on to the next tip. This next tip is about planning and routing and making sure you don't waste time. I did kind of touch on it in the other tips, but I want to make sure it gets its own little piece for 1 second. When you are ready, and this is assuming you're kind of listening to these lists I'm making, and you've gone out and, like, let's say your first expedition for a zone, you've scanned all you can, and all kinds of missions have been revealed, tasks, money-making opportunities. And when I say that, I mean like this stuff. Contracts, tasks. Oh, sorry, my camera's in the way. Zip, let me move this over here. So, tasks, contracts, the expedition you'll always be on, but the contracts and tasks, because you were smart and you went out and you revealed as much of the map as you possibly could, which took some time, but hey, you're playing the game to explore, right? So you went through all that and you found everything you could. You came in another expedition and you're like, okay, I'm going to tackle some of these things. Before you left the map you're going to look at some of the tasks and you're going to look at some of the contracts, because some of them have requirements that aren't listed easily. They might say, like, here's a task. Hey, contract, please bring 2 cameras, which you can buy in the store. Or get one at one of your field operation bases. The other one might be like deploy a camera. Another one might be take some photos, so you have to have camera equipment. Another one might be set up a bridge. So a lot of these things need to be known, and one way you can do it, after you have, like, I know it might be a lot to keep in your brain, but sometimes you write it down in a text doc, maybe you just write it down on a piece of paper, maybe just keep it in your head, whatever works for you. And then when you deploy the first mission, like we're doing right now, you look at your own stuff and you go, what do I need? And this step right here has 450 with just one sideboard, the big one that's free, you get from the start of the game. You can hold 450 parts. Each bridge in the game to set up takes 75. You're like, wait a minute, that's a hell of a lot. It is. And this little area here, this essential storage, has 200 extra parts when you start the mission off each time. So if you have 2 of these things, or you bought enough parts to store on the sideboards yourself, you can have 450. You can set up a lot of bridges. Now, do you think you should put all of them in the step at once and leave your base completely free of parts? That's up to you. It depends how you play. If you have a lot of repairs you're doing, you're driving back and recovering a lot, probably not. But a couple, like I'd say, always have 150 to 225 to 300 parts on the thing, especially if you have your scout driving back to it to drop off loot, pick up parts, go make another bridge, and keep going and going and going. This is the whole buddy system where this truck, the bigger trucks, hell, you can use the mid-size, you don't need to use the big one, can be your mobile base while your scout or the other truck run around and do some missions to like set up bridges, reveal stuff, complete contracts, look at tasks, pick up upgrades, all those things, all right? Just keep it in your head. It will save you a bunch of time. These things make great mobile bases. They're not great on like, you know, super high inclines. They can do the winch if there's winch points, but I wouldn't, you know, try to, you know, Baja the son of a bitch off of a dune and go, what's going to happen? Next thing you know, you're wrecked and you have a very large repair bill. So keep that in mind. And with that, let's move on to the next section. Actually, is that a section one? No, I think I covered everything. Let's see if we go on to the next section or maybe the next video. I'm making a lot of these all at once. This next one tells you what the next sections are going to be in the next video. The next video is going to have general tips and advice for driving around and making sure you don't slam into stuff, break your truck, how to avoid some of those common pitfalls the devs like to hide in the game. Section 8 is maps and how to navigate them back and forth and what does and does not work, including field bases missing until you undo certain unlocks, which I'll show you how to do quicker. Then section 9 is bases and field camps. This is the next video that should be right after this. If you're here on March 1st, it'll come out March 2nd of 2024. If you're well past that date, don't worry. You can just hit next or go look at the playlist that this video is part of and see the next video. All right, thank you very much for making this point. Like I always say, hopefully I earned your subscription today. If you want to hit other buttons down below besides subscribe, that's perfectly up to you. I never tell you what to do. I'm just going to ask you to consider it. I like to earn what I get, not beg for it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Of course, there's other videos down below, and if you have any feedback or anything you want me to change or add, or you think I missed something, feel free to give me a comment, because I don't mind putting little edits in or retraction videos to fix things up. I'm moving as quick as I can to give a lot of information quickly, and I hope you found some value in it. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.